Hello again, everyone. My name is Brittina from the channel BookLooksByB, and I am a self-taught makeup artist and an avid book lover blending the two things I love the most, which are books and makeup. Spooky month is upon us, and I am thrilled to be back on Epic Reads to show how I created this Shambler-inspired book look for Dread Nation, a gripping and powerful story about a young southern black girl named Jane McKean as she and her friends survive a post-US Civil War, post-zombie apocalyptic world by Justina Ireland. So if you're interested in seeing how I put this book look all together, and maybe even recreating it, then please keep on watching. Starting with a clean bare face free of excess oils, I'm putting a little Vaseline on my brows to protect them from when I put on my Shambler prosthetics. Before I glue everything down, I'm first seeing how everything is going to sit and fit on my face. Once I found a nice fit, I'm using a little bit of setting powder to mark and outline where to lay down my prosthetics glue. With a Q-tip, I'm filling in all of the spaces inside of that powder outline, being very careful not to get any near my eyes or my eyebrow hair. Once the glue is nice and tacky, I'm carefully pressing and pulling the prosthetics into place and gently gluing any edges and loose spots down. Using a small spatula, I'm pressing down all over the prosthetics to ensure the entire thing stays in place. While that side dries, I'm doing the same process on the other eye, cutting the prosthetics down to size, finding a comfortable spot for it, and gluing it in place. These prosthetics are made out of silicone, which means they can dissolve and melt with isopropyl alcohol, so once both sides are dry, I'm taking a little bit of IPA on a Q-tip and I'm melting and blending the edges away so the prosthetics look more natural and a part of my skin. For any parts that don't blend in as well as I'd like, I'm using a little more of my prosthetics glue to fill in and blend those edges in before using my airbrush tool to help speed up the drying process. Next, it's time for some Shambler wound prosthetics, which I painted prior to doing the look. If you'd like to see how I painted my prosthetics, I'll be uploading a video on my YouTube channel coming soon, so please check it out. And for these wounds, I'm doing the same process as my eye prosthetics, finding a spot that works, powdering an outline, putting my glue, waiting till it gets tacky, placing the prosthetics down, and blending the edges out with IPA and glue. Last prosthetic to put on is my Shambler mouthpiece, and for this I want to be a little more careful with this piece since it will be a part of my mouth and will be able to have to withstand movement. So I'm following the same steps for my other prosthetics, but as I'm doing this, I'm moving my mouth around to make sure everything sits comfortably before gluing parts of it to my mouth. Once the glue is dry, I'm just testing things out by moving my mouth around and blending those edges away with IPA. Once I had the Shambler mouth on, I was really feeling myself. I love doing spooky looks, and if I was in the world of Dread Nation, I probably wouldn't survive very long and would most likely be a Shambler. Next, I'm using flesh-toned alcohol-activated body paints to color match the prosthetics to my natural skin tone. The key to this Shambler look is layering, and by having my base colors match, it'll make things a little easier and will make the prosthetic pieces look a little bit more realistic when I start to layer dead, decaying flesh tones on top of them. I also wanted to pull more blue tones from the book cover into the look, so with a splatter brush, I'm spraying a cool tone gray body paint all over me, being careful not to get any inside of the wounds I previously painted. I don't want to be too clean or precise with this look and want this undertone to look very patchy and uneven, like sick, dead skin, and the way I'm going to achieve this is by using a very damp foundation brush to stipple and spread the color around. I'm doing the same thing with the rest of my neck, chest, and shoulders, and I'm also using a wet wipe to help smear and break the color up a little bit more. After everything is nice and dry, I'm using brown cream paint to hollow out and contour under my eyes, around my face, and around the prosthetics to really make things pop. Like the gray undertones I just painted, this brown shade is going to serve as my first layer of contouring before I go in with darker shades. Because my Shambler has been undead for some time, I really want her skin to look gaunt and sunken in. So I'm really going to contour the hollows of my cheeks to make it look more like her undead flesh has been shriveling away and clinging to her bones. I'm doing the same to the rest of my body, contouring and hollowing out my collarbones, my neck, chest, and shoulders, and I'm painting a sunken-in sternum and maybe some rib shadows to mark where my skin is more shriveled away. With black cream paint, I'm going over everywhere I put the brown shade, but concentrating that black more on the most sunken-in parts to really deepen and darken up the contour and the overall look. Because I'm an older Shambler, I really want to accentuate my forehead wrinkles and the creases on my brow to give it a more sinister look. Again, I don't want to be too precise or pretty with this, because I'm a Shambler. I want to be terrifying! And the more asymmetrical and messy the look appears, the scarier. With a ripped makeup sponge, I'm starting the base for my Shambler bite, and I'm doing this by stippling a layer of fleshy yellow and green undertones before stippling on some old bruise shades, followed by some blue bruise tones on top of that. I don't want this bite to look too fresh. I want it to look like an older wound that was very distressed and painful. Maybe it tried to heal, but ultimately it got infected and has been decaying with me ever since I was turned. To mark where I was bitten by another Shambler, I'm using white cream paint to outline the bite mark. I'm blending the outer edges and drawing small hashes toward the middle of the bite to show where the teeth marks would be. With a bruised blood color, I'm accentuating where those shambler teeth would have sunken in when I was bitten, and I'm deepening the color and the bite with some black paint on top before blending everything out a little more with my ripped makeup sponge. To make things look a little bit more infected, I'm also going to paint on some blue veining around the bite, branching it out toward my arms, chest, and neck. To really tie the book cover colors into the look, I'm also adding a hint of blue cream paint to the places I contoured, and I'm also going to use a mix of black and blue paint to create more wrinkles around my face and body. With a little bit of white cream paint, I'm highlighting the center of my lids, and I'm using a mix of brown, black, and blue paints to darken up my mouth. A nice rule of thumb I have when body painting is wherever there's a shadow, there is a highlight. So to make my wrinkles pop a little more and look a little more 3D, I'm slightly highlighting next to each of them with some white cream body paint. By adding a highlight color next to the shadow color, this kind of tricks our eyes into thinking that those areas are catching light and casting shadows, making them look a little bit more realistic from far away. After that, I took a quick little water and snack break, being very careful not to tear my mouth prosthetics before slightly splattering over everything with some black and white body paint, just to add some dirt and grit to the look since Dread Nation is a very dark and gritty story. Next, I'm messing up my hair a little bit by pulling strands out of my braids so I look a little bit more disheveled, and I'm spritzing silver temporary hair color in blotchy bits throughout my hair. After, I'm putting in some shambler colored contacts, which I did off camera. The shamblers are often described to have yellowing eyes, so I opted for these yellow gold colored contacts to reference them and also to tie the warm gold shades of the cover title in with the look. To blend in my lashes and waterline, I'm using a black eyeliner pencil, and I can't be a shambler without blood, so I'm adding a teensy bit of fake blood to my wounds. Because I'm going to be a more rotted away shambler that hasn't been killed by an attendant yet, haha, her wounds would look older and drier, and I don't think she would have puddles of fresh blood on her. In exception to the people that she's probably been eating. Last step now is to accessorize my shambler to the times, add some more blood, and with that, we're done! Here is our finished look for Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. Yay! I wanted to give a humongous thank you to Justina Ireland for the coolest, creepiest, and the most compelling story I've read yet. I love Jane and Catherine. I also wanted to give an even bigger thank you to HarperCollins Publishers for commissioning me for this book look, as well as sending me a hardcover copy of Dread Nation and Deathless Divide. It was such an honor to bring this chilling cover and story to life through makeup, and I'm ever so grateful for all the love and support for my book looks. This was such a fun look to create, and I had even more fun devouring the books. Thank you everyone for joining me in putting this book look together, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!